Hello, welcome back to another segment in a spiritual ascension, my 5-year journey. This is where I'm talking about my entire journey for 5 years from April of 2020 to April of 2025 and everything that's happened to me during that time. And I'm kind of talking right now about what happened that led up to that 5 years. So when I left off last, um, I was kind of giving you some examples of things I was learning in my psychic skills class. So if you've been following along, and I hope you go back to the first episode, the intro, because I'm kind of going back and forth when I remember things that I should have brought up in the last sessions. But it all makes sense if you start at the beginning and watch each episode through. Um, and gives you my reasons why too. I started seeking out spirituality. And it's to also know that it's already in us. Our soul has already chosen this path. So it's not like all of a sudden I woke up one day and I said, I'm going to become spiritual. My soul woke up and said, it's time for you to become spiritual. Um, so last I was talking about some things that we were learning in class. And as the year went on, um, we would do little practice sessions. So we might meet during the week and practice with each other, switch partners and things like that. And it was nice because it was kind of getting like free readings from, others that were really good at their skills. So we so one day, this is really important as you follow along on my story. One day, I'm doing exchanging a reading with another student, and at a corner of my eye, I see this guy walk in into the classroom, and he kind of looks around and he sees me, and I'm talking with my partner, and he makes a beeline straight for me, and he sits down by me, and he's like, I would like you to do a reading with you next. And I'm like, okay, I've never seen this guy at all before. So I finish up with that partner and he sits across from me. And he goes on to tell me that I was sent here to tell you, to give you some information. And I'm like, what? But the way he came in the doorway it wasn't like he was, just happened to, it's like he came there with a purpose. And he says, I was sent here to tell you that you're going to be doing work with um, homeless women. So I'm like, okay. And then he also said that you have too much stuff, that you need to kind of shrink down what you have to kind of get rid of a bunch of stuff that you have. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, yeah, I do have a lot of stuff. And um, I forget what else, if he said anything else specific, but it was those 2 points of needing to minimalize my belongings and also that I was going to do work with homeless women. So I had always done volunteer work. Um, the company that I worked for was really big on doing volunteer work. So every June you had to sign up um, for some kind of volunteerism. And I really, at first, it was kind of like, I got to do stuff, give up my time, like, when I looked at it like that. But after doing it a few years, I really started to enjoy, also spending time with my coworkers, meeting new new coworkers because the company would kind of set up different things for us to do. They would give us t-shirts and little gifts, for doing the work. I remember doing, I think it was Dress for Success, where people donated clothing for women that were um, starting to build their lives up. Maybe they had gone through something and now we're going to go out into the workforce and they needed, maybe a business suit or a nice dress or some shoes or whatever, to be able to go on a job interview or their first, couple days on the job. And just realizing the impact of different organizations like that, they got donations of clothes. And I think what I was doing at that site was like we were kind of sorting through things and maybe by size or something like that. But just like recognizing like, wow, like I've been so blessed with the income that I had and was able to go out and practically buy anything that I wanted to. And that there was women who were not able to do that, that didn't have the clothing, that wanted to work, but, didn't have the proper attire to go out and, obtain a job. And how important it is for that first impression when you do go on an interview. So I learned so much during those volunteer um, um, days that we did. I also had gone up to, it was like I don't know what they call it, like a food bank, yes, up in the Bronx, and where we were sorting out food and, for distribution. And just like I've never had to experience anything like that of realizing, like you hear it on the news, like, you read in the paper that people go without, but I think some of us are just um, have our heads in the clouds that we don't realize how severe these situations are. And I think it's become probably more mainstream that people are able to produce videos like this and kind of tell their situations where we probably have been so secluded from different situations. And it really broadened and opened up my mind to others. Um, and it's sad to kind of think about it now that it took that to kind of make me see that there were others around that needed help. So when I went home after he had said that you need to kind of, so this probably was late 2017, maybe early 2018. When he had told me this, I'm saying to myself, yeah, I do have a lot of stuff. And at that time, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Minimalists, and their videos started kind of popping up on my feed. And I started kind of following them. And they kind of had like a game where they say, okay, start on day one of the month and get rid of one item. Day two, get rid of two items. Day three, get rid of three items. And by the end of the month, I think it's like 400 something items you would have gotten rid of, even if it was just a pen or something like that. So I tried that. And because too, when I had my apartment in New York City, I had a big two-bedroom apartment. And so I try to fill it up. It's just like you think you have the space, so just fill it up with stuff. And now I was in a very small one-bedroom apartment. So I kind of stuffed everything in there. I didn't even have enough room to put everything in. So I had kind of had some of my friends holding on to some of my furniture for me. But I had so many clothes, so many shoes, just so much. Like I say in New York, two things to do is to eat and to shop, you know. So it was hard for me. I love my shoes. I mean, love my shoes, love my clothes. I've always, since I was a young teenager, my father would take us shopping in New York. Um, just always loved clothes. So it was really hard for me to depart with things that had accumulated. Even though a lot of things I didn't even like fit at the time, and I'm saying, oh, I'll get into those things. Or I used to have like just totes piled up of clothes that I thought I was going to get into. And I think actually that was one of the things um, later on that my grandmother said, like, get when she came through on another session, said, like, get rid of that stuff. You're not even using it. So, um, what I had done was I ended up bagging up about 9 or 10 big black garbage bags of just clothes. And I didn't even know like really anything about, he had said for homeless women. So I knew about shelters. When I thought of shelters, I'm thinking, that there's one room with all these, beds in it. And I had asked a friend of mine, I said, do you know of any shelters that are around? And she had told me of one in the town that we lived in. So I went and took these 9 bags. And actually I called beforehand and I said to them, I said, I'm going to come on this day and I would like to drop off some clothes. And I said, is the director there? Like, I want the director because I didn't want to just drop, some clothes because these were like really like things I had worn, like paid a lot of money for. And I wanted them to go to the right people. I didn't want them, like the employees, just to start grabbing things and taking them home. I wanted to make sure that the director kind of oversaw, you know, and I know that's probably saying too much, trying to be too controlling of, you know, what was going on. But I didn't want them to not go to who needed them. So finally, I got in touch with the director and he said, okay, I'll be here on this day. And I think they were thinking I was going to drop off a couple pieces of clothing. But when I got out and started bringing 9 bags of clothing in, and um, I don't know, about a week later, I don't know why I went back. I think the director called me and he says, oh my goodness, thank you so much. He said, can you stop in? I'd like to show you like one of the residents that we have here. So I said, yeah, I'll stop in. And when I came in, there was all these employees were like kind of standing there, like, and um, ready to greet me. And they took me up to this room and they had racks set up of all my clothes that I had given, and they were all hung up. Oh my goodness, I'm like getting teary-eyed. They had all racks with all my clothes hung up in order in this one room, and all the shoes and handbags and everything. And one of the employees came up to me and just said, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And not realizing like what an impact this was making for some of the women there. They took me to into two of the residences. Like my thinking, which probably most of our thinking is that, there's when you think of a shelter, there's like, bunk beds, of clothing, clothing, I'm sorry, bunk beds for people in one room, and they're all cramped together. But these were actually like little apartments that they had, and the children were in there, and they had little kitchenettes and tables and beds. And I was like, oh my goodness, because he said, like, it's not just about like people falling on hard times, but there's also families that they have a fire one night. They need somewhere to go, you know? So it's not when you think about homelessness, you also need to think about there's so many circumstances that you can cause homelessness. And I was just overwhelmed that I was learning so much. And I thought the little bit that I gave was not even enough. And I'm like, why is, spirit trying to teach me about this? What is, what is it that they're trying to help me to understand about people in these circumstances? So that kind of stayed in the back of my head, but I thought, okay, they wanted me to, first of all, get rid of a bunch of stuff. And also, secondly, they said I'm going to be helping homeless women. So I said, okay, like I've done this part now, I've given, what I could. And maybe later down the line, there was something else more I can do. Um, so I'm going to leave it there for now, and please come back and continue to hear my story. There's a link below if you would like to speak to me about your own journey, if you'd like to book a reading. Also, I have several courses on the ascension process, and the link is also below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.